Hey, happy Tuesday. Welcome to actually the special edition of FPP Live, where I connect all things faith, purpose, and profit. Now, listen, I'm usually here Mondays live. Those of you that were here yesterday, we had technical difficulties. My audio was silent. Gotta love technology, is great when it works. So, I'm here without notice, without warning, to actually re record our episode for this week. So, in full disclosure, I had to pre-record yesterday because I had a meeting at the same time. And yeah, you should always test your video after you record it. So, lesson for me. But listen, I'm always committed to make sure you get the insight that you need. So, I know many of you will probably watch the replay. And so, as you come in, and I'm going live, I usually don't go live in my Facebook group. So, I'm live on Facebook, my page, and my group, and in YouTube because of the technical difficulty we had yesterday. But I'm committed every week to come to give you the content you need because I need you to understand there comes a time in your career when you are done with where you are. When there's time to let go of plan A, which has been the series we've been in. It's been called When It's Time to Let Go of Plan A. And that's because God always has more for you to do. If he didn't, you would no longer be here. So as you're coming in, I see a few of you joining me. Say hello, tell me where you're from. And as I share, if I share anything valuable, listen, today will probably be better because I had to re-record it again. Luckily, I keep my notes. So with that said, here's what I know. That if you were done, we would have already been at your funeral. I hate to be that crass, but that's real. So if you're still here living, that means that God has more work for you to do. And that's the exact reason I'm having this conversation with you. So this is part 3 in this series. Again, the name of the series is When It's Time to Let Go of Plan A. If you've missed any of it, let me put it on the screen. Go back, and it's not podcast, it's FPP Live. Go back and listen to it go watch episodes on my YouTube channel, which is nrjnetwork.com. If you've missed any of this series, you can go and watch them on my YouTube channel. It's nrjnetwork.com. Okay. So this is part 3. Part 3 is the foundation makes the difference. But before I start to go into part 3, let me do a quick review. So our foundational Bible verse is Philippians 3:13 through 14 that says, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead, I press toward the goal for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. That's our foundational Bible verse. So, in part 1 of the series, I talked about, and the topic was, what's your priority? Or as my mom used to say, get your priorities together. Or my aunt has said that, my mother has said that, my grandmother has said that to me. So, the 3 steps I walked you through in that episode is check your focus, purpose over money, 2, purpose over position, and then 3 is God is holding you responsible. Then, let me put this up here again in case you missed these. Then, in part 2, which was last week, which was called the power and career interruptions. If you feel interrupted, God interrupted your perfect plan on purpose because it was your plan, not God's plan. Come on, somebody. So, the 3 things that I talked about last week was principle over priority, because it might be your priority, but you've got to understand there's a principle behind everything God does. 2 is it may not look like how you planned it. Your career is not going to look like how you planned it. It may at the beginning, but when God has say, he's known to shift things. And I walked you through the 6 areas you've got to let go of when things don't look like you planned it. Then number 3 from last week is get the clarity you need to make the shift. It's one thing to make the shift. It's another thing to be clear about the strategy you need to make in order to do the shift the right way. Because listen, our careers are done on levels. So if you do one level the wrong way, you mess up the shift for the next level. You mess up the pivot for the next level. You mess up the transition for the next. There are levels to this thing called life. So again, as you're coming and say hello, if as I share, because I am live with you tonight, you have questions, please by all means ask the questions. I'm always committed to be here for 30 minutes to give you actionable insight to help you go after what's next for you. Okay. So Again, our conversation for this part three of this series is the foundation makes the difference. And here's our Bible verse for tonight. Matthew 7:24 through 27, Matthew 7:24 through 27, which says, therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him or her to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it didn't fall, for it was founded on the rock. By the way, that rock is a strong foundation. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat that house, and it fell. And great was its fall. Now, listen, the thing that's interesting is in my Tony Evans Bible commentary. Let me tell you something. I have about 4 or 5 different commentaries I read when I'm pulling together my notes as God is dropping Bible verses in my spirit. This is always my favorite, and I always end up reading directly out of it because it's so good. Here's what Tony Evans says. I once had a crack on a wall of my house. No matter how many times I had it fixed, the crack came back. Finally, I learned the problem wasn't with the wall. The problem was a shifting foundation. Many of us have cracks in our career because we don't have foundation to what we are doing. And it is the foundation that makes a difference. Listen, think about what a foundation does for a house. If a foundation is not strong, listen, I recently redid the house I grew up in LA. And, despite the fact that I pulled all these pictures from Pinterest, I knew exactly what cabinets I wanted, what countertops I wanted. I knew the flooring I wanted. Ultimately, my contractor said, oh, we need to take this house down to the studs because I need to see the foundation. And we ended up having to restore the foundation. Because no matter how phenomenal flooring was, or the walls were, or my countertops, or any of that, if the foundation is weak, the house would not stand. And the house is in California. So earthquake comes, my house would all the way fall. And I've sold that house since. But I really want you to understand this. Many of you do not have the foundation you need in your career, and that is why things are topsy turvy. I know for me, when I started in this journey, listen, I had the career I've wanted since I was 7 years old. Some of you have heard my story that I worked in the entertainment industry. I loved every minute of it, but I felt like something was missing. I couldn't understand why I felt like something was missing. And you know what the biggest piece was missing? Yeah, my foundation wasn't strong, it wasn't solid. And I realized that God was calling me out of what I thought what was my plan A, not because he didn't intend for that plan A to be plan A, but he wasn't finished with me yet. And I needed more to build my strong foundation. And what is that strong foundation? It's two pieces. It's purpose and love. See, at the time I wasn't clear on my purpose. What I realize now is your purpose matriculates. So God used my years in the entertainment industry to really teach me what I learned and what I was great at. And what I loved about the entertainment industry was two things: casting and producing. What do I do in my business now? Casting and producing. For my entrepreneurial clients, I'm producing all the programs. I'm helping you produce your purpose into all the ways you will serve people through your business. And my corporate clients, whether it's individuals or the corporation altogether, is casting. It's making sure the right people are in the right seats to bring them meaning and fulfillment. Because those of you that have ever seen a movie, you could tell when the casting of the movie was off, was not good, because the wrong person was in the wrong role. That's why Angela Bassett keeps getting all these phenomenal awards, because she is the right person for those roles. Y'all get this? But it's bigger than just purpose. You've also had to have love, which is the ultimate piece to the foundation. So listen, I'm sure you've heard the Chinese proverb that says, choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. Or maybe you've heard Steve Jobs' quote that says, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. But it's bigger than that. It's so much deeper than that. So let me tell you what I mean. John 3:16 says, and this is one of the first Bible verses I ever learned, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. God so loved the world that he gave first because he loved us. So what's so interesting is even when you look at Adam and Eve and their story, God gave Adam and Eve the entire Garden of Eden. He said, I just don't want you to do one thing. Don't eat from, well, he asked them to do two things. Don't eat from that one tree, and I need you to tend to it and keep it. That was God's calling to work. So when Adam got hoodwinked, let's say it that way, and Eve by the serpent, what happened is he got out of alignment and he got his focus, his priorities wrong. Y'all get that? Going back to week 1 and week 2 of our conversation here. His focus was wrong. His focus was off. And many of you, your focus is off. You're focused on the wrong things in your career. And that's why you seem to still be off. Your foundation isn't strong. Mhm. So when Jesus came, when God gave his only begotten son, God gave his son to come back and redeem our ability to tend to and keep the arena God created us to dwell in. So if you don't realize that you were born on purpose, with purpose, God has specific work for you to do. I need you to get that. You do. And every day that you play small, that you settle good enough, you could be successful and still be settling. Listen, deliberate mediocrity is a sin. That's a quote, by the way. Deliberate mediocrity is a sin. When you're deliberately not up leveling because maybe you're playing it safe. Oh, I'm about to talk about this, and let me not get ahead of myself, right? So let me dig into the 3 steps I'm gonna give you here because I'm already getting in a step. Number 1, your purpose is not about you. It's not about you. It's about serving other people. And tell me that ain't love. John 12:26 says, if anyone serves me, let him follow me. And where I am, there my servant will be also. If anyone serves me, him my father will honor. Now, that's a whole mouthful right there, John 12:26. So let me tell you what Tony Evans says about that, because it's a whole mouthful. Listen to this. Okay. The first responsibility of a follower of Christ is to his people. That's our first responsibility. It's not even about us, it's our responsibility to the people God has assigned us to. And if we love and serve sacrificially, the Father promises to honor us with a reward. So many of people think that when you serve God, you're supposed to struggle. That ain't real. God told me once service and struggle should never coexist. Because why would he love us and want us to struggle? That don't even make sense. If your earthly father or mother or aunt or grandmother or whoever took care of you loved you enough and poured into you and didn't want you to be without, why would God want you to be without? So it's when you're obedient to the exact reason he created and crafted you, but it's not even about you. See, when God put us on this earth to tend to and keep it, it's about us serving other people. That's what our businesses are. That's what our roles and our jobs are. Every business was created as an answer. And every part each of us play, whether it's in our own business or in someone else's business, is a part of an answer. Get that? Okay. So you got to serve over being seen. I hear so many people that say, I want to be a speaker because I want to motivate people, but that's you wanting to be seen. Motivate, when I say motivate people to do what, most people can't even answer me. And they can't answer me because all they want to do is be seen. It's not about being seen. You got to serve over title, over position, over even money. Because listen, when you do the thing God has called you to do, money comes back to you. You know, when I think of the fact that I grew up in a 1,300 square foot house and I now live in an almost 8,000 square foot house, it's like 73, whatever, 7,400 square foot, whatever. I'm not saying it to brag because I'm clear. This house is a gift from God because I've been obedient. Even my husband, when I think about my husband, I could have never asked God for a man like Daryl. Daryl is God's gift to me. I'm clear on that. And it's because I've been obedient and because more, I'm more concerned with serving the people that need me. It's not about me. It's not. Just like your role in the job that you do or in the business that you want to start is not about you. Number 2 is being obedient is about sacrifice. Being obedient to your purpose, being obedient to give God love back, it's about sacrifice. Listen, Romans 12:1 says this. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, and I always gonna say sisters, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. The thing I think is so interesting is that in the Old Testament, if you think about any story you hear in the Old Testament, they used to sacrifice animals. When God gave Jesus to us, Jesus redeemed us, and we no longer had to sacrifice animals. But what God asked us is to live our lives as a living sacrifice. Listen, in my spiritual Bible, it says this under that. Oh, God, it's so little. I need my readers, but I don't know where they are. we, I just said we don't offer animals anymore. So listen, as it suggests that a rational response to God's mercies is to commit ourselves as an act of worship. So when you stop looking at what you want, remember I said purpose over priority or priority over principle or principle over priority? It is purpose over priority. When you start to do what you do because of what God wants and not about what you want or what you can see. I think so many of us focus our careers on the things that we can see, the plans that we created when God has so much more than that. Listen, Ephesians 3:20, if God's going to do abundantly above all you can ask or think is beyond your plans. Even Hebrews 11:1, which says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It means it's bigger. It's different what you can than what you can see or what you can plan. It's bigger than that plan A you had. hmm Plan A is probably your first step, and God has multiple steps for you. So listen, the word sacrifice means to give up something you really want for the benefit of someone else. To give up something you really want for the benefit of someone else. See, God gave up his son for our benefit. And God, listen, gives us the opportunity to choose. Before I get into that step, I need you to get this. There are 5 things you got to sacrifice to be obedient to your calling. And yes, all of us are called. You don't have to be in a pulpit to call. When you were born, you were called. God gave you specific DNA, distinct natural ability that put you here on purpose. The question is, are you sacrificing to be obedient, to tend to and keep the thing God created and crafted you to do? And those of you that don't know what your purpose is, oh, I got a gift for you. I'll tell you about it in a second. Okay. It's 5 things you got to sacrifice. Number one is where you are. Where you are is great. And I keep saying this. I've said this a few minutes ago, but God has more than that for you. So you got to let go of your position, your title, and you've even got to let go of number 2, comfort or even stability. See, God never, it doesn't matter how successful you are. God is not looking at your next move. He's not checking your bank account. He's not checking your resume. He's not checking where you work. And he's not checking the contacts you have. He's not checking any of that. He's checking your faith. He's checking your commitment. Because love is all about commitment, y'all. Number 3, you got to let go is money. Said this a minute ago. I think the number of successful women that I meet that say to me, well, I have a mortgage to pay and my kids are going to college, and they start telling me all the bills they have. Okay, great. I get all of that. And God knows that too. Again, he's not doesn't care about any of that. But when God is putting you in a place that's uncomfortable, he's also looking to see if you trust him. Are you so reliant on money that you cannot make the pivot because you can't see how the money's going to come? Now, one of the things that I teach my clients, those of you that start businesses, I'm not going to tell you to quit because that is stupid. Hello, you got to eat. That's why you got to start your business alongside your 9 to 5. You've got to do it in a smart way. And money is energy, and energy goes where energy flows. When you look at all the people that trusted God, that were obedient, I don't know why my end keeps moving, and I keep moving it back while I'm talking. Whether it was Abraham who was obedient when God told him to leave his family, he ended up being wealthy. Esther, Queen Esther, hello, right? Do I need to keep going? Anybody that was obedient to the calling God gave them ended up being wealthy. hmm So tell me, God don't want you to be wealthy. He does. But you've got to also have the foundation set. Are we going to dig into that wealth piece next week? Listen, you got to let go of fear and doubt. See, fear comes because God is asking you to do something you've never done before. I believe God puts us in these positions, so you have to rely on him. I'm in a place in my business where God is pushing me to do things I've never done before. Am I scared? Yeah. Do I feel like quitting? Most days. I'm not even lie to you. But I'm going to sacrifice how I feel over being obedient. Because it's not about how you feel. You know what's interesting is love is a choice. That's number three. So let me give you, before I go to number three, let me say this. Let me say this. When you realize your career is not about you, when you begin to sacrifice, I'm going to tell you the hardest thing is to have the strategy you need to go after this new thing that God is calling you into. So, those of you that know, like you need support, you are the exact reason that I created my upcoming event called High Calling, High T. It's an afternoon with me and you where I'm giving you the methodology you need to go after what's next for you. This is the stuff people don't tell you about. This is the stuff that I wish I knew when I went after my next level, when I left entertainment to do this work. Listen, it took me too long to figure it out. I made so many mistakes so that you don't have to. So I'm gonna walk you through. I'm gonna share with you a little bit about this afternoon, and then I'm gonna come back, and walk you through step number three. I'll be back after this. Hey, successful woman, can I ask you a question? Is it time for your next level? Are you feeling stuck, complete, or ready? Now, when I say stuck, I'm talking about feeling stuck in a job that just no longer fits, that's just no longer big enough for your gift. Or maybe you feel complete with your current level of success and you desire more, but maybe you feel guilty for wanting more because you've gotten to the place in your career that you've always wanted and you're successful. Maybe you're just ready. You're ready for your next. You know it's time for you to transition into your next best career move or to start a business alongside your 9 to 5. So listen, if you're feeling stuck, complete, or ready, it simply means it's time for you to level up. And that's why I'm inviting you to join me for the High Calling High Tea. It's an afternoon of networking, of me giving you the step-by-step methodology you need to go after what's next for you. Plus, I'm gifting you with my Plan B playbook so that you can do the introspective work that will couple with the methodology I'm going to give you in the room. So listen, why should you be in the room? Why should you join? Can I keep it real? See, the biggest issue I see that gets in the way of successful women, I should say successful, powerful women like you, is you understanding that what got you here won't get you there. See, your bio, your resume is great, but that version of you is done. It's complete. And I'm excited to support you and who you have not yet become at the High Calling High Tea. Sorry, when I hear that music, it makes me want to dance. And those of you that are in DC, did you realize that's actually Go Go? My husband actually wrote that song for us. So listen, if you know, like you know, now is your time to let go of plan A. You know that there's a plan B brewing in you. That's a tongue twister. And you don't know where to start. You don't have the strategy. You know you want to be successful as you take this leap. Then I am inviting you into this intimate room so that I can give you, yes, a methodology. The Plan B playbook is going to give you the introspective work that goes with that. And you'll be surrounded in a room of women that are with you in the journey. Learn more. I'm giving you just a snippet, but there's so much more on the website. High Calling High Tea. You've got to register. All right. And I'm keeping the room small so I can really coach you that afternoon. All right. So with that said, so let me review real quick and then I'll give you step three and we'll wrap for our take two of FPP Live for this week. So step one was it's not about you. Your career is really about you serving other people. Number two is, where's my number two? Being obedient is about sacrifice. And if God is our example, he sacrificed first. He gave his only son. And then number three is love is a choice. Oftentimes people say to me, well, I wasn't feeling it. And well, love is, listen, that feeling is fleeting. That feeling you feel when you first meet somebody, first start dating, you're like, oh, that doesn't last forever. There are times that my husband gets on my doggone nerve, and he can probably hear me, and I know I get on his. Love is a choice. It's a choice you got to make every day for the days that he's getting on your nerves, for the days when you don't feel like it. But there are days when I'm like, oh, still, but it ain't every day. Listen, Matthew 12:30-31 says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like it. It is, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So God's first commandment was to love him with all your heart and then to love your neighbor. And see, God gives us free will because he's not going to make you love him. Can you imagine being in a relationship where this person's making you love them? Yeah, that don't feel good. So God gives us free will. He gives us the power to choose. So my question to you is, what is your choice? Are you going to be obedient to the person that God has called you to be? Or are you going to do what you feel like doing? Oftentimes when I'm meeting people and I'm helping you really get clear, you're so focused on what you know that you can't let go of that to go after a whole nother level. That's what I mean by sacrifice. I had to sacrifice my degree. My degree is in my undergraduate degrees in TV and film. When I started doing this, I didn't know what this was called. This is 1993. There was no such thing as a coach. And yet, I knew God was calling me to this. Do I use my TV and film degree? Yeah, I do now. But I didn't see that I was going to use it when I first left. And some of you are in that same place. God is calling you to do something different, and you can't fathom what that is. You've got a choice to make. Do you stay in comfort? Do you stay in what you know? Do you let perception tell you where to go, or are you going to be obedient to the thing that's rumbling in your soul? And why am I saying there's something rumbling in your soul? Because here's what I know. When you come on these and you stay and you listen to the whole conversation, then that is you. You either have something rumbling, you feel like something's missing, or anywhere in between. The reason that's happening is because God is calling you to more and he's giving you the choice. Will you do what it takes to go after what's next? Or will you stay in complacent? Will you be deliberately mediocre? Or will you go after your breathtaking future? Again, those of you that need support, I look forward to serving you and coaching you at the High Calling High Tea here in the DMV on April 1st. Seating is limited, so don't wait. If you know, like you need to be in the room to grab your seat. And by the way, VIP is already halfway sold out. All right. So with that said, let me end with this and give you a little homework. First Corinthians, the 13th chapter, is really a chapter on love. And it says this is a portion of what 1 through 13, chapter 13. It's a portion of what it says. It says, if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. So love is a foundation, y'all. If you're going to put love back in your career, you've got to get clear on who God has called you to be. What's that next level? Because where you are is great. And it could be the very thing God called you to be when you started your career, but there's a next for you. You've got to let go what you already know. And you've got to be willing to go after who you have not yet become. Now, we're going to continue in this conversation next week, as I have so much more for you around when it's time to let go of plan A. And I know it from my own journey. And listen, I didn't realize when I was letting go of plan A that God was going to call me to hold the space to help you let go of yours. It took a long time for me to learn all the strategy I needed. It took a long time for me to learn the faith that I needed. And it took me a long time to understand that sacrifice is crucial. But ultimately, the greatest of all those things that I've shared is the foundation that makes a difference is love. All right. So with that said, it's always my honor and privilege. This is the take two. Again, those of you that may come in late because because yesterday when I did it, the sound didn't come through, but I'm always committed. No matter what, I will be here with you every Monday, unless I'm on hiatus. All right. So with that said, do me a favor. Whether you're watching live or you come back and watch a replay, number one, tell me the value you got out of this conversation. Because after all, I'm not here for me, right? I'm here for you. Just like I'm saying that you're here to serve other people, I'm here to serve you. So I want to know how this helped you, number one. Number two, if you found value in it, then share it. And I'm not asking you to share because I'm trying to grow my reach, but I am trying to be obedient to my calling and get to people that need this insight because it's time for them to let go of their plan A. And you never know who in your community is wrestling with this right now. All right. So, as always, it's my honor and privilege to be here week after week. I'll see you on Monday for our next episode of FPP Live. Bye, y'all.